Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Fallen London. Today we're going to be carrying on with the exceptional story, The Old, New, Drowned and Blue. But it appears that you can play the reunion exceptional story for free. How interesting. Well, if you're playing Fallen London right now, I thoroughly advise you to give that a go. I have played that one before and it is very good. It's about red honey and the royal family, which is a very interesting part of the Fallen London lore. But we shall continue where we left off. Whether or not you wish to help the bride break free of her compact, it will be easier to build your case if she knows the possibility is there. You hardly get one knock on her front door, the rampant hair looming above you, before it swings open and the bride hauls you inside. The door slams behind you, all in a blur. "So?" she asks, half wild. "What did he say? What does he think? What do I do?" Let's reveal the Fathom King's promise. Tell her of the Fathom King's promise to let her out of her shackles if she can prove her love, and if you can get a word in edgeways. Immediately, she perks up. "That's wonderful!" she cries, perhaps a bit too loud. But as the reality starts to sink in, her joy dies down. "This is just wonderful." She plops down on her extravagant lounge chair. "I have to prove we're in love? How does one prove love?" The bride begins to look more nervous. "The Fathom King will never believe me if I claim true love. I've led too many men astray with that claim." She perks up a bit. "Perhaps you could convince him. My lovely gentleman will attest, I'm sure. He's such a sweetheart." "Well, let's ask where the gentleman is. You don't see him around the townhouse. He's not already under Z, is he?" The shackled bride picks at her fingers, looking rather dramatically out the window. "Oh, I'm sure he's at the Poison Apple by this hour. As much as I love him, he does not handle bad news particularly well. I presume he hasn't stopped drinking for a moment since I turned down his proposal." She casts her gaze back to you. When you speak to him, will you please..." She trails off, looking for the polite way to say that she wishes to express, "Make sure he still loves me, that he still cares, and doesn't think I'm some kind of evil thing. I don't want him to think so poorly of me." It seems you must speak with the gent again before this can be settled. You leave the bride sitting in the parlour of a drowned ex-husband's manse, wringing her hands. Speak to both the bride and the gent to gather information for the Fathom King. What you choose to reveal, or withhold, from each of them may affect their choices afterwards. Let's go find a lover in his cups. You find the unwitting gentleman in the Poison Apple, a sombre, quiet pub, close to the bride's townhouse. The place is mostly empty when you arrive. And you find the gent surrounded by pint glasses, each empty. He may not be in an ideal state of mind to hear what you have to say about his beloved. He perks up when he sees you. "My friend! This is my friend, everybody!" he announces to no one in particular, waving wildly. "I'm sorry for leaving you after..." He lowers his voice to a stage whisper. "The break-in. I saw her coming, you see. What did you find out?" He hiccoughs and sneezes at the same time. "Somehow." "What can you tell me?" So I have two options. I can ask about his own wealth. His clothes are expensive, but he's drinking the cheap drinks and clearly needs a wash. Or we can peer at the object in his hands. With his non-pint hand, he clasps something tightly. A silver chain dangles from his fist. Let's start with asking about his own wealth. "Bah," slurs the gentleman. I wear my best clothes and try to impress her, but yes, I am caught. A lowly poet, struggling to make ends meet. He drinks and slams the glass down. If she should believe me wealthy because of my bearing, very well. I seek not to deceive, but impress. My family taught me that love is about who someone is, not about what they have. Don't you think? He doesn't wait for an answer. She will understand. She is a graceful, beautiful heart, and that, my friend, is cause for another drink, he says with finality, waving vaguely at a bartender who pretends not to see him. The gentleman is not as wealthy as he attempts to appear. Okay. Oh, okay, so now I have to go back to the bride. Fantastic. The shackled bride awaits in her elderwick manse, pacing back and forth. Well, what have you learned? Can you convince his complexity? Well, let's reveal his financial status. If she's going to risk it all for this man, trade in one eternal contract for another, it would be good for her to know the truth. She sharply turns her gaze from you towards the adorned chandelier above her, then to the carpet. I don't care, she says, nearly at a whisper. I have plenty of money. I have many kinds of treasures from many men. She lets out a soft, startled laugh. Not that I choose men for their money, of course. I paid no mind to it, and neither did his complexity. An odd silence settles across the room, though she sits back in the elegant velvet armchair in her late husband's luxurious townhouse. Oh no. Let's go back to speak to the gentleman and ask him about the object in his hands. The unwitting gentleman spreads his hands wide. I am an open book, my friend. He blows his nose noisily. Sometimes I think I don't understand her. I will take any help I can get. He ends in a baleful hiccough. The bartender shakes his head. Let's peer at the object in his hands. When he sees you looking, the unwitting gentleman opens his fists and raises it so you can see. It's a small, silver locket. Not elegant or ornate like much of the bride's jewelry, but instead practical and simple. You prise it open. The hinge sticks a bit, but inside is a beautiful colour miniature of the bride. I know it's not perfect, but he sniffles and hiccoughs at once. Somehow. I love her. I really do. I'd follow her to the ends of the ocean. He brings the portrait closer to his face, like he's memorizing it. I've never felt such a strong feeling in my life, and if that makes me a fool, then gladly, I am a fool. Love is foolishness. Okay, let's tell the bride. Will she find it endearing that he carries her portrait around like a treasure? She clasps her hands to her heart with a dreamy sigh. Of course he does. He is such a romantic, such a dear heart, unlike any man I've ever met, she says with such sincerity that it is almost impossible to believe she is talking about the same weeping gent you've just been speaking to. Oh, how I miss him. When this is all over, we'll be so happy, don't you think? You're about to answer. You realize she wasn't really asking you. Yes? Is that everything we can do? Oh no, okay. Everything here is optional. What you choose to reveal or withhold will affect the gentleman's opinion of his beau. You may also return to the bride to do the same. Right. So, let's check in on his opinion of the relationship from the start here. The unwitting gentleman flashes you a big grin and whistles, swaying drunkenly. I know she's not perfect, and you may find me a fool, but I don't care. I love her, and I would do anything to be with her. If she'll have me, of course. I'm not perfect either, I'm aware. He blows his nose explosively on an already soiled handkerchief. And then I can do the same over here? No, okay. Right, what can we tell him? We can inform him about the bride's previous husband. It's difficult to deliver such bad news like this, but perhaps he needs to know. If that's that important, we can reveal to him that she kept his letters. Maybe sentimentality is the way to his heart. This will increase his affections. Or we can mount an impassioned defense of the bride's virtues. It matters not whether you believe yourself, only that you want him to believe it. Let's just go along with it. I don't trust the bride at all, but what could possibly go wrong? Let's increase the affections. My letters? She kept them? This earns you an explosively blown nose and a series of inebriated sobs. She always claimed to be too modern a woman to exchange letters. Too contemporary. Bah! But I wrote anyway. The poems! I'm sure they are not good, but I meant every word, my lady. He shakes the dregs of beer around one of his pint glasses. I'm glad she kept them. Not glad enough, however, to stop drinking. Okay. I'm assuming that's all I can do with him? No, I mean, well, kind of, unless I want to reduce the affections. What about the bride? Anything new here? No. I don't really want to tell him. Like, he probably deserves to know, but if we break the contract, it doesn't really matter. Like, I don't know. Let's mount an impassioned defense. Let's see what this does. You grab the gentleman by the shoulder and make him look at you. His beloved is beautiful and ingenious and viciously effective at pursuing her goals. The kind of ambition that leads to greatness. In truth, you do not need to try very hard to fans the tear-dampened flames of the gentleman's passions. After listening to the first few adjectives in your carefully constructed rhetorical panegyric, he becomes obviously lost in his own recollection, drawing hearts on the bar in spilled patches of beer foam. You're right, he says. You're right. You stopped talking a while ago. Alright, well, let's go see if we can convince the Fathom King. Far away and far below, the Fathom King and his courts await your evidence. Drownies lurk offshore, ready to spirit you away. The easy way this time. None of this almost drowning nonsense. All you need to do is decide that it is time and walk on down to Wolfstack, the scene of your own attempted murder. You alone must decide how to present your findings. Are the couple's affections true? Does the bride deserve her freedom? Let's approach the waterline. A squadron of drownies awaits your arrival, like a constabulary escort to his palace. You have merely to let them take you under Z. As the drownies pull you deeper into the Z, there is an unfamiliar sound, growing in intensity. The last time you visited his complexity, you were more or less alone. This time, a veritable mob of drownies clamour around the outskirts of the Fathom King's palace. Word has spread quickly through the Undersea, and even the drowned love a good show. Your drowny honour guard deposits you directly in front of his complexity's bubbling throne. The Fathom King's guards struggle to keep the crowd in check, but when he clears his throat, all fall silent. He addresses you with austere eyes and a sternness that does not quite feel genuine. Now the bride's delegates have finally arrived. We may begin. Before opening statements, I'd like to warn everyone. He throws a pointed glance to you, and then to the group at his right side, that I am allowing this to be a public hearing. I am expecting a composed etiquette from all parties. Okay, let's begin proceedings. The crowd is getting restless, and his complexity won't wait forever. The Fathom King strikes an urchin-tipped cane twice on the shell of his throne, calming the crowd down once again. You may present whatever you feel will help your case. We will do our utmost to reserve final judgment and comment until your presentation of the evidence concludes. He gestures to his right, where a limp and dripping Baronet Sharp and the disconsolate withering widower stand, among the other victims of the bride. These souls in particular have a vested interest, and while my say is final, this is also a matter of the people. Present your case to us, and after deliberation, we will decide her fate. The Fathom King receives a scrap of oilskin scroll from an attendant, and balances a daintily, if rusted, set of reading glasses on his nose. Now, my understanding is that the bride would like to remarry. Unjustly, Clovis Argent cries, appalled. The gallery of aggrieved ex-husbands begins their descent. She is still married to me, and to all of us. That scoundrel, that... Quiet, his complexity snaps, with an impatient thrashing of his lower regions. She wishes to marry him, claims she is truly in love with him, that he is different from the rest. He looks down his nose at you. So let us start with him. How do you judge this husband to be? So we can either present evidence of enduring affection. The unwitting gentleman keeps a picture of his bride in a locket around his neck. Even still, he obviously loves her dearly. That'll make a case for his love. We can present evidence of a doubt in mind. When you met him, the unwitting gentleman was convinced his bride was seeing another man. Does that sound like the feelings of a man possessed of a true and proper love? Or we can point out his lies and mistruths. The gentleman misled his bride about his financial prospects. That entire relationship is predicated upon a falsehood. Could it ever truly recover from that? Let's make a case for the love. For the gallery, you spin the romantic tale of the humble silver locket, containing the bride's likeness within. You invent details, how he holds it close every night, how love is the nourishment of his soul. It's easy to appeal to their inner romantics. Well, the withering widower gargles, on the brink of Zolty Z tears, she has always been lovely. Baronet Sharp nods in agreement, a wistful look in his eyes. But Clovis Argent scoffs wetly. He's not special. We all kept her close. So close that she could push us to Z. The Fathom King purses his lips. A simple and rather material gesture, but a meaningful one nonetheless, he declares. I keep my own bride ever close. Clovis Argent shuffles to the front of the gallery, addressing the Fathom King before addressing you. Your complexity. I would like to address the court and make an argument of my own, if I may. I'll allow it, the Fathom King agrees, taking off his little glasses and relaxing slightly back into the bathtub of his throne, intrigued. Before we hear about the bride, with whom we are all familiar, to an array of melancholy chuckles from other husbands, I would like to posit the theory that it matters not whether her love is true. She is responsible for the pain of many here. The question should rather be, irrespective of love, should she be forgiven? His complexity hums in contemplation. He looks to you, expectantly. I can either trap him in his own rhetoric. If you follow his logic, then the individual responsible for all of this pain is the one who bound the bride in her contract and bid her to lure men to their deaths, the Fathom King himself. We can agree with the drowning. The bride has been the architect of much suffering. Granted, it was at the Fathom King's behest, but she has profited too. Forgiveness must be earned through action. Yeah, let's trap him in his own rhetoric. That's way more fun. There is a twinkle in his complexity's eye as he listens to your answer. The gallery goes quiet. Clovis Argent stumbles over an objection. Well, my subjects, do you object to my justice? Have I behaved improperly in my rule over you and yours? A wide circle opens up around Argent, who finds himself a drowny floating alone. He shakes his head dumbly. Very well then, We shall continue assessing whether circumstances have changed enough for my decision to change, and cease questioning my old edicts. The Fathom King waves his hand. Now, says the Fathom King, on to the bride. Long ago she purchased her husband's life from me in exchange for a steady supply of replacement drownies. This is not a compact I am like to end lightly. And round ex-husbands bristle and murmur. Did they not know the terms of the agreement before? The Fathom King waves for quiet. I am not unsympathetic to love. Indeed, that was the impetus of our initial agreement. I misjudged the husband then. I do not want to misjudge the bride now, to lose another portion of my riches. So we can present evidence of sincere affection. She cares for her beau enough to abandon her modus operandi, and attempted to spare him by killing you. This must speak to change in her heart, even if it still involves a little bit of murder. We can present evidence of private sentiment. The shackled bride kept every one of the gent's letters, even the dreadful poems, the sure sign of a deep and intimate love. We can present a concerning pattern. Her previous drowned lovers all have one thing in common: wealth. We can't be certain she isn't trying to pull the same caper on the gentleman. Or we can present her persistent deceptions. She never told him the truth about her contract with the Fathom King. Perhaps she's always intended on killing him after their vows. Either way, true love cannot be based upon a lie. Let's present the letters. You detail the large pile of the gentleman's letters that rested on the bride's nightstand, appearing organised and well read. You leave out the circumstances of your less than lawful entry. Keeping such nostalgic things must speak to a tender heart. Clovis Argent hardly lets you finish. That proves nothing. Perhaps she simply forgot to throw them in the river where they belong. But you've touched the withering widower's heart. She never kept my letters, dozens and dozens, and my poems exhibited immaculate internal rhyme. Make no mistake. That's a rather interesting detail. In all my years, I've never known her to be sentimental. His complexity admits, with a solemn nod. I will take this into consideration. The Fathom King worries at an outcropping of coral. I believe I've heard all I need to. I must deliberate. But sir, phlegmy Clovis cries out, is there not time for closing arguments? Should we not do this properly? A collective, impatient rumbling erupts through the drowny gallery. His complexity lets out an irritated huff. I suppose if you feel you must. Clovis beams, but before he can start running his mossy moor, Baronet Sharp jumps in. Whatever you think is best judgment for the bride, your complexity. We are ready to put this matter to rest. The Fathom King gestures to you. Well, do you have a final statement? I really want to try to attempt to soften his complexity. You didn't have time to mention before, but his complexity's coral-knobbed jaw looks particularly chiseled today. Excuse me. Can I get that higher than 76%? 96%? Let's spend a confident smile. Just in case. Nice. He attempts to maintain his kingly aspect, but cannot help to certain avuncular twinkle from creeping into his eyes. He holds his chin just a little higher in pride. The court does not accept this as evidence, but noted. Now, on with your closing statement, if you please. Right, 3 options present a final impassioned case for love. The shackled bride and the unwitting gentleman's love is worth fighting for, and you've done the investigative lead work to prove it. The bride deserves another shot at a free life. We can conclude that the couple's love is not true, evidence notwithstanding. With all the deceit and distrust from both sides, how can they truly love each other? Or we can keep your peace. You've said all you wish, let the Fathom King make up his own mind from here. I'm going to attempt my final impassioned case for love here. And if this man ends up dying, it's going to be very funny. The Fathom King listens with his eyes closed, and for the largest part of your closing statement, you fear he is impatient or distracted. But when, finally, he opens his eyes at the end of your remarks, his eyes are misty. He coughs wetly and waves his hand in airy dismissal. Order in the court. I appreciate you investigating so thoroughly. Give me some time to collect myself. I will have a verdict shortly. You wait alone in a small, oxygenated vestibule in the Fathom King's hold. This seems to be where his complexity keeps his collection of coral, shillets, and urchin-tipped canes, piled about the room like kindling. Beyond, in the open water, drownies confer on the case. Inaudible. They are discussing the couple's love, or the necessity of building the ranks of the drowned. Their mournful, bloated faces offer no clue. After an interminable period, the hold is barren of clocks or timepieces, the throne room door swings open. The Fathom King is ready to deliver his judgment. Let's find out. The Fathom King looks down his nose at you, keeping the gallery of resentful husbands and drowny onlookers in suspense. It is my belief that the bride has had a surprising, substantial change of heart, he announces to the crowd. After a moment of silence, the drownies bubble in agreements, protests, and questions. His complexity swings his staff as a grand gesture of silence, which the crowd promptly obeys. A palace drownie, dressed in ceremonial garb adorned with shiny tropical seashells, emerges from a hidden vestibule carrying an enormous, queasy pearl. It shifts and coils, as though full of mist. She kneels before the Fathom King with palms raised. By destroying the bride's covenant pearl, I release her from this contract. Without a moment of hesitation, he swings his staff down upon the pearl, which shatters and dissipates, releasing silver tendrils into the water. He smiles at the crowd with bleary eyes. I believe it is the right thing to do. Our covenant was made first in the aid of love, and has since become a barrier to it. Let no one say I am not just. I hope with all my heart that she does not disappoint me. Hey, I got a legal document. Nice. With the Fathom King borne back into his hold by a cadre of litter bearers, the court begins to empty. Drownies peppered with the bride's ex-husbands filter out. Opinion appears split on whether his complexity's decision was a just one. Well, let's leave his court. Now all the arguing is done, it's time to deliver the news to the couple. The drownies clamber and gurgle and swarm and grab your limbs, escorting you back to the surface, for what is, hopefully, the final time. You rise up through the Z back to the shoreline by the docks. You carry the judgment up from below in your heart, like a pearl. As you arrive back to the shore, the shackled bride is already there, waiting on the rotting boards. She wrings her hands as your head bobs above the water, then jumps down to the shoreline and walks towards you. She stops a good ways away from the water, perhaps unwilling to come face to face with any drownies. When you're within earshot, the barrage of questions begin. They spill out of her mouth like Z-water. My fiancé will be here any moment. He found me, followed me here. Tell me, where do I stand? Her hair, for the first time, is in a state approaching disarray, and her eyes are drawn. Let's deliver the good news. Her covenant pearl was destroyed. She is free from her contract with the Fathom King and can marry her gentleman without fear. The shackled bride clasps her hands over her mouth in disbelief, then sags in a vast sigh of relief. Oh, I can't believe it. What good news! For just a moment she throws her arms around you, before realizing you're still dripping wet with Z-water. Ah! She steps back with a grimace. taking a gold-trimmed handkerchief out and dabbing her dress. After sufficiently drying her expensive gown, she regains her composure. "Anyway, thank you. This will mean the world to my fiancé, you have no idea. I can't believe I'm finally free after all these years." The unwitting gentleman emerges from the wolf-stacked murk. "My dear," he calls into the night. "Why did you run? We have to talk." The unwitting gentleman is considerably more sober than the last time you saw him. He strides up to his lover, face serious, but addresses you first. "My friend, thank you for..." The bride interrupts him. She seems to do this often. "Yes, darling, yes. I know I said no before, but I've changed my mind. I love you. Let's get married." When you look back to the gentleman, his expression is difficult to read. He is barely even crying. Watch their reunion. Things are about to get dreadfully lovey-dovey here on this beach, aren't they? The unwitting gentleman embraces and kisses his bride, then scrambles down on one knee. "All right, then let's do this properly," he says with a smile. He takes a modest ring with a small diamond inset from his pocket and holds it up for her to take. Do you imagine a moment's hesitation, the smallest grimace at the size of the diamond? But the next instant she slides it on her ring finger with a breathy sigh. The ring looks very small amidst her other rings and signets. "Yes, of course I'll marry you." The two embrace, the gentleman spinning her around, both forgetting you are there entirely. A few weeks later, however, you see the unwitting gentleman back in the Poison Apple. He's a few drinks deep, bemoaning the cost of the extravagant wedding. Some things never change. And this concludes The Old, the New, Drowned and Blue. That was very fun. I wonder what happens if you make them go the other way. I was half expecting us to go through all of that just for him to be like, "I don't want to marry you after everything you did," but it seemed like it had a happy ending. If you went the other way and decided you didn't trust the bride, please let me know in the comments down below. I'd love to know how the story goes in the other direction. But that's the end of this story. I'll thank you all very much for watching. Please like and subscribe. Let me know what you think. Your comments are greatly appreciated. Thank you again to the members of the channel and the coffee supporters. It really does help me keep this channel going, and I appreciate it greatly. And as always, we'll see you next time.